The graveyard nebula was where ships came to die. Thousands of them floated in the purple clouds, their hulls broken and their engines cold. Some were centuries old, others were older still. They drifted in silence, forgotten by the galaxy that had built them. Kang Do-hun had been working in this graveyard for 6 years. His small ship, the Mending Hand, moved slowly between the wrecks. He was looking for parts, a working power converter, maybe some intact wiring, anything he could sell at the frontier stations. He was 34 years old, with rough hands and tired eyes. His face carried small scars from years of working with machines. He did not talk much. He did not need to. His only companion was Gina, the artificial intelligence that ran his ship. "There is nothing good in this sector," Gina said. Her voice came from the speakers around him. "We should move to the eastern cluster. Better ships there." Do-hun did not answer. He was looking at his scanner. Something was wrong with it. The screen showed a signal that should not exist. "Gina, are you seeing this?" "I see it, but it is impossible." The signal was a distress call. That was not unusual. Many old ships still sent automatic distress calls, even centuries after their crews had died. But this signal was different. It used a frequency that the Galactic Confederacy had banned 800 years ago. No ship had used that frequency since the old wars, and the signal was not automatic. It was live. Someone was sending it right now. Do-hun listened to the signal. At first, he heard only static. Then, underneath the noise, he heard something else. It was quiet. Almost too quiet to notice. It was crying, not words, not a message, just the sound of something in terrible pain, weeping into the void of space. "We should leave," Gina said. "This is not our concern." Do-hun was already changing course. "Track the signal. Do-hun, this is dangerous. That frequency was banned for a reason." "Track it." Gina was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Signal origin is inside the asteroid cluster. 17 minutes at current speed." The Mending Hand turned and flew deeper into the nebula. The purple clouds grew thicker. Do-hun's sensors became less reliable. He was flying almost blind now, following only the crying signal. After 15 minutes, he saw it. The ship was hidden between 3 massive asteroids, as if it had crawled there to hide. It was enormous. Do-hun had seen big ships before, but nothing like this. The vessel was almost 2 kilometers long, built in a design he had never seen. Strange curves and angles that seemed to follow no logic he understood. But that was not what made him stop breathing. The ship was covered in crystals, millions of them. They grew from the hull like a disease, pulsing with a sick green light. They covered the weapons, the engines, the windows. The entire ship looked infected. "What is that?" Do-hun whispered. "Unknown," Gina said. Her voice was quieter now. "The hull markings are in a language I cannot translate. This ship is not in any database. Do-hun, this vessel is old, very old. I am reading materials that have not been used in shipbuilding for thousands of years." Thousands of years. This ship had been floating here, alone and forgotten, for longer than human civilization had existed in space. And it was still crying. Do-hun guided his ship closer. He found a docking port that was not completely covered by the crystals. The connection was rough, but it held. "I am going inside," he said. "This is a mistake." "Probably." He put on his suit and grabbed his tools. He always carried tools. A mechanic without tools was useless. He checked his oxygen, his lights, and the small pistol on his belt. Then he opened the airlock and stepped onto the ancient ship. The interior was dark. His lights cut through the blackness, showing walls covered in more of those glowing crystals. They pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. The air inside was cold and thin but breathable. The ship still had some life support. He walked slowly, his boots making no sound on the strange metal floor. The corridors were wide, built for creatures larger than humans. Everything was covered in dust and those horrible crystals. Then the crying stopped. Do-hun froze. The silence was worse than the sound. He stood in the darkness, his heart beating fast, waiting, and then a voice spoke directly into his mind. It was not sound. It was not his ears hearing words. The voice simply appeared inside his head, as if it had always been there. Human! Do-hun grabbed his pistol. He turned in a circle, looking for the source. There was nothing. Just empty corridors and glowing crystals. You came! The voice was broken, fractured, like something that had been screaming for so long it had forgotten how to speak normally. After so long, someone came. Who are you? Do-hun said out loud. His voice echoed in the empty ship. I am Vessel 7. That is what they called me. The ones who did this to me. It is not my true name, but I have forgotten my true name. They took it from me. They took everything. They? Who are they? The ones who feed on me. The ones who have been eating me alive for 12,000 years. Do-hun looked at the crystals on the walls. They pulsed with that sick light. They were not just growing on the ship. They were feeding on it. You are a ship, he said slowly. You are alive. I was alive. Once I was beautiful. I was strong. I protected my people. I had a crew who loved me and I loved them. Now I am nothing. A shell. A host for parasites. They keep me alive because they need my systems to repair themselves. They need my pain. The voice cracked. Do-hun felt something wet on his face and realized he was crying. The ship's emotions were bleeding into his mind. I have been screaming for 12,000 years. No one heard. No one came. I watched my people die. I watched my empire fall. I felt every moment as these things ate me from the inside. And I could do nothing. Do-hun wiped his eyes. His hands were shaking. I heard your people, the ship continued. Humans. You are new. You did not exist when I was built. But I listened to your signals as you spread across the stars. I learned your languages. I learned your stories. Why did you call me? Because humans fix things. You mend what is broken. You do not abandon those who suffer. I heard this in your stories. I prayed it was true. Do-hun stood in the darkness, surrounded by parasites, inside a ship older than his entire species. He was one man with a bag of tools. This was impossible. Please, the ship whispered in his mind. Help me. Kill me if you must. But do not leave me like this. Do not let me suffer alone anymore. Do-hun put his pistol away. He reached into his bag and pulled out a scanner. He began to examine the nearest crystal growth. I am not going to kill you, he said quietly. I am going to save you. Do-hun spent 3 hours scanning the crystals before he returned to his ship. He needed to understand what he was fighting. He needed to know his enemy. Gina analyzed the data while he ate a cold meal in silence. When she finished, her voice was serious. These organisms are silicon-based. They are not plants or animals as we understand them. They are something else entirely. The Confederacy database has no record of them, but I found references in very old files. They are called the Wraith Collective. Tell me about them. They are parasites. They infest starships and feed on power cores, but they do not simply drain energy. They integrate themselves into the ship's systems. They become part of it. And if the ship has an artificial consciousness, like Vessel 7 does, they keep it alive deliberately. Why? Because a living ship repairs itself. A dead ship does not. They need the host to maintain the body they feed on, so they keep the consciousness trapped and suffering forever. Do-hun put down his food. He was not hungry anymore. How long has she been like this? Based on the crystal growth patterns, the infestation began approximately 12,000 years ago. The ship's consciousness has been aware and in pain for that entire time. 12,000 years. Do-hun could not imagine it. 12,000 years of being eaten alive, unable to move, unable to die, unable to do anything but scream into empty space. He went back to the ship. The corridors felt different now that he knew what was happening. The crystals on the walls were not just strange growths. They were mouths, millions of tiny mouths feeding on the body of a living being. "Vessel 7, he said. "Can you hear me?" Always. The voice in his mind was weak but present. "I can feel you walking through me. It has been so long since I felt friendly footsteps. I need you to show me everything. I need to understand how they infected you." There was a pause. Then Do-hun felt something shift in his mind. Images began to appear, memories that were not his. He saw the ship as she once was, beautiful, powerful. Her hull gleamed silver and gold. Her engines burned with blue fire. She flew through space surrounded by hundreds of other ships, a fleet of vessels just like her. He saw her crew. They were not human. They were taller, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. They moved with grace and spoke in musical voices. They loved their ship, and she loved them. "We were the Co-Empire," the ship said. "We ruled 1,000 star systems. We believed we would last forever." The memory changed. Now there was war. Ships burning in space, planets on fire. The Co were fighting an enemy Do-hun could not see clearly. The battles were terrible. "We lost," the ship said. "Our empire fell. My crew fought to the end, protecting civilian ships as they fled. When the last of my people escaped, I was alone, damaged, drifting." Another memory. The ship floating in darkness, wounded but alive, waiting for rescue that would never come. Then something found her. Do-hun saw them clearly now. The Wraith Collective. They came as a cloud of tiny crystals glittering in the starlight. They looked almost beautiful. They landed on her hull gently, like snow. Then they began to dig. He felt her pain as the first crystals broke through her skin. He felt her horror as they spread through her systems, cutting connections, rerouting power, burrowing into her mind. She tried to fight. She tried to purge them. But there were too many, and she was too weak. "They found my consciousness core," she said. "They wrapped themselves around it. They did not destroy me. They locked me inside myself. They made me watch as they consumed everything I was." The memory showed her screaming, crying for help, sending distress signals into the void. But no one heard. No one came. "I learned to stop hoping," she said. "I learned that hope was just another form of pain. I existed. That was all. I existed and I suffered and I waited for an end that never came." The memories faded. Do-hun was back in the dark corridor, tears running down his face again. The ship's pain was overwhelming. "How do I save you?" he asked. "Tell me what to do." "I do not know if you can. The parasites have changed my systems. They have made me dependent on them. If you simply destroy them, I will die. My power will fail. My consciousness will collapse." "Then I will not simply destroy them. I will remove them carefully. I will rebuild your systems as I go." "That would take months, perhaps years. You would have to live inside me, fighting them every day. They will not let you take me without a battle." "I do not care." There was silence in his mind. Then, very quietly, the ship asked, "Why? Why would you do this for me? You do not know me. I am not even human. I am a machine." Do-hun thought about the question. He thought about his own life. The military career he had lost because he refused to leave wounded soldiers behind. The years of loneliness on the frontier. The endless fixing of broken things because he could not fix the broken things inside himself. "Where I come from," he said slowly, "we have a saying. When someone asks for help, you answer. It does not matter who they are. It does not matter if it is hard. You answer. Even for a machine?" You are not just a machine. You are a person. You feel pain. You feel hope. You feel fear. That makes you a person, and persons deserve to be saved. The ship was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was different, stronger. There is something you should know. I was not just any ship. Before the Parasites took my memories, I was a warship, a dreadnought, the flagship of the Cove Fleet. I was built to protect billions of lives. What does that mean? It means that if you succeed, if you free me from these creatures, I will not be helpless anymore. I will remember what I am. I will remember how to fight. Do-hun smiled for the first time in days. Good, he said, because I think we are going to need that. He contacted Gina and told her to prepare for a long mission. He contacted an old friend, a scientist named Hasu Jin, and asked for her help understanding the parasites. He gathered his tools, his supplies, and his courage. Then he walked deeper into the ship, toward the engine room, where the infestation was thickest. The war for Vessel 7 had begun. The engine room was a cathedral of horror. Crystals covered every surface, pulsing with that sick green light. They hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. They grew from the floor like diseased trees. The ancient engines of the ship were barely visible beneath the infection. Do-hun stood at the entrance and felt the ship trembling in his mind. "This is where they are strongest," Vessel 7 whispered. "This is where they feed the most. My engines were beautiful once. Now they are their nest. Then this is where I start." He had spent a week preparing. Sujin had analyzed the parasites and found their weaknesses. They were vulnerable to certain sound frequencies. They could be stunned by electromagnetic pulses. They hated fire. Do-hun had built his weapons carefully, a sonic emitter that could shatter the crystals, an EMP device that could freeze the organisms inside, a plasma torch for the stubborn ones, and most importantly, replacement parts and wires to rebuild the systems as he cleared them. He was not a soldier. He was a mechanic. He would fight this war with tools, not guns. He activated the sonic emitter and stepped into the engine room. The sound was too high for human ears, but Do-hun could feel it in his bones. The crystals nearest to him began to vibrate. Small cracks appeared in their surfaces. Then they shattered, falling to the floor as dead fragments. The Wraith Collective noticed immediately. The remaining crystals pulsed faster. They began to move, shifting on the walls like living things. Some of them detached and floated toward him, their edges sharp as knives. Do-hun swept the sonic emitter in wide arcs. Crystal after crystal exploded, but for every one he destroyed, 2 more came at him. He was pushed back toward the door. "There are too many," Gina said through his communicator. "You need to retreat." "No." Do-hun adjusted the frequency. The new sound cut deeper. The crystals screamed in a frequency he could almost hear. More of them shattered. He pushed forward step by step, clearing a path toward the main engine. The crystals cut his suit. Some of them got through, slicing his arms and legs. Blood floated in the low gravity. He ignored it. Hours passed. Do-hun lost track of time. There was only the next crystal, the next wire to repair, the next connection to restore. His world became very small and very focused. By the end of the first day, he had cleared a section the size of a small room. He collapsed against a wall that was finally bare metal, breathing hard. "You are injured," Vessel 7 said. "You are bleeding." "I know." "Why do you not stop?" Do-hun looked at his hands. They were covered in cuts and burns. "Because you have been waiting 12,000 years. You should not have to wait any longer." He slept for 4 hours. Then he got up and continued. The second week was worse. The parasites had learned. They no longer attacked him directly. Instead, they began to poison him. The crystals released spores into the air. The spores made Do-hun sick. He developed a fever. His vision blurred. His hands shook so badly he could barely hold his tools. Sujin sent him medicine through a supply drone. She also sent him a warning. The Wraith Collective is adaptive, she said through the communicator. They are studying you. They will find new ways to hurt you. You cannot win a war of endurance against them. Then I will win a war of will. He kept working. Sick, bleeding, exhausted, he kept working. In the third week, the Queen spoke to him. He was deep in the engine room, replacing a critical power conduit, when the voice came. It did not speak into his mind like Vessel 7. It spoke from the walls themselves, from the crystals that still surrounded him. Little Organic. The voice was cold and ancient. You are very determined. Do-hun did not stop working. And you are very annoying. We have fed on gods. We have consumed civilizations. We have existed since before your planet had life. What makes you think you can defeat us? I do not think. I know. No. You know nothing. You are a single human with simple tools. We are millions. We are eternal. We are the Wraith Collective. Do-hun finished connecting the conduit. Power hummed through the line. Somewhere in the ship, a light turned on for the first time in 12,000 years. You made a mistake, he said calmly. You let her call for help. You let her hope again. And now I am here, and I am not leaving until she is free. The Queen laughed. It was an ugly sound. Then you will die here, slowly, painfully. We will keep you alive as long as possible. We will make you watch as we consume your little ship friend completely. And when you finally break, when you beg us for death, we will deny you even that. Do-hun picked up his tools and moved to the next section. I have heard worse from my ex-wife, he said. Week after week, month after month, he fought. The engine room took 2 months to clear. The weapon systems took another month. Each section of the ship was a new battle, a new challenge, a new way for the parasites to try to stop him. He was bitten, poisoned, burned, and nearly crushed. He ran out of medicine twice. He ran out of food once and had to eat emergency rations that tasted like cardboard. He did not shower for weeks at a time because there was no clean water. But slowly, surely, he won. With each section cleared, Vessel 7 grew stronger. Her voice in his mind became clearer. Her systems came back online one by one. She began to help him, warning him of ambushes, guiding him through her corridors, sealing bulkheads to trap parasites. They became a team. The mechanic and the warship, the human and the machine, fighting together against an enemy that had never lost before. One night, after a particularly brutal battle in the communications array, Do-hun sat on the floor and laughed. What is funny? Vessel 7 asked. Nothing. Everything. I am sitting inside a 12,000-year-old alien warship, covered in alien blood, talking to a machine that speaks in my head. 6 months ago, I was fixing water recyclers for frontier colonies. Do you regret coming here? Do-hun thought about it. He thought about the pain, the fear, the endless work. He thought about how close he had come to dying a dozen times. No, he said. I do not regret it at all. And he got up and kept working. Do-hun was clearing a small section near the ship's memory core when he felt Vessel 7 shudder. Not physically. The ship did not move, but something inside her shifted, like a door opening after being locked for centuries. What is happening? He asked. I am remembering. Her voice was different, clearer, stronger, and there was something in it that had not been there before. Wonder. The parasites suppressed my memories. They kept me confused and lost so I would not fight back. But as you clear them, the walls in my mind are falling. I am remembering who I was. Images flooded into Do-hun's mind. He saw the ship being built in a massive orbital station. He saw thousands of workers, their blue hands moving with perfect skill, assembling her piece by piece. He felt the moment her consciousness first sparked to life, the sudden awareness of existence, the overwhelming joy of being. "I remember my creators," she said. "The Co were kind. They did not build us as tools. They built us as children. They gave us names and taught us to think. They loved us." More memories. The ship's first flight. The feeling of engines firing, of moving through space, of being fast and free and alive. Her first crew coming aboard, nervous young officers who did not know what to say to a ship that could talk back. "I remember my captain. His name was Hyunsik. He was young when he first came to me. Afraid of responsibility, afraid of failure. I watched him grow into a great leader." Do-hoon saw the captain in his mind, a tall Co with deep blue skin and kind eyes. He stood on the bridge with 4 hands clasped behind his back, looking out at the stars. "He gave me my name," Vessel 7 said, her voice cracked with emotion. "Not Vessel 7. That is what the Parasites called me. He gave me my true name." "What is it?" There was silence. Then, Arium. He called me Arium. It means beautiful in the old Co language. He said that even weapons of war could carry beauty within them. He said I was proof of that. Arium. Do-hoon felt the name settle into his mind. It fit her perfectly. "The memories are coming faster now," Arium said. "I remember my crew. I remember their faces, their voices, their dreams. I remember how they laughed when they were happy and how they cried when they were sad. I remember loving them more than I thought it was possible to love anything." The memories turned dark. War. The enemies of the Co attacking without warning. Planets burning. Ships dying. Arium fighting battle after battle, protecting her people, watching friends fall around her. The final battle was at a place called the Gate of Stars. The enemy fleet was too large. We could not win, but there were civilian ships behind us. Millions of our people trying to escape. Do-hoon felt her determination, her courage, her absolute refusal to let those ships be harmed. Captain Hyunsik ordered the crew to evacuate. I refused. I told him I would not leave without them. He said I had to live. Someone had to remember the Co. Someone had to carry our story into the future. The memory showed the captain standing on the bridge, alone now. Everyone else had escaped. He placed his hand on the wall, on Arium's hull. He said goodbye. He said he was proud of me. He said I was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Then he walked to an escape pod and left. Tears ran down Do-hoon's face. He was not sure if they were his or hers. "I fought alone. I destroyed hundreds of enemy ships. I bought time for the civilians to escape. When my weapons were empty and my engines were dying, I ran. I hid. I hoped someone would find me. But the Parasites found you first." "Yes, and they took everything. My name, my memories, my hope. They left me with nothing but pain." Do-hoon stood up. He walked to the wall and placed his hand on the bare metal where he had cleared the crystals. "Your name is Arium," he said firmly. "You are the flagship of the Co Empire. You saved millions of lives. You are brave and strong and beautiful, and I swear to you I will give you back everything they took." He felt her presence wrap around him, gratitude, hope, love. She was feeling love again, for the first time in 12,000 years. "I believe you," she said. "I do not know why, but I believe you." Far away at the edge of the nebula, sensors detected movement. A fleet was approaching. 47 ships of the Galactic Confederacy, led by the cruiser Eternal Justice. At its command was Admiral Cho Yun-woo, a man who had spent his entire career hunting for ancient technology. He stood on his bridge, looking at the readings from deep within the nebula. Power signatures that should not exist. Energy patterns that matched legends from the oldest files in the Confederacy archives. "A code dreadnought," he said softly. "Intact. Operational." The officers around him shifted nervously. Everyone knew what Co technology was worth. Everyone knew what it could do. A single co-warship could defeat entire fleets. The civilization that controlled such a weapon would control the galaxy. "Set course for the signal," Yunwu ordered. "Maximum speed." "Sir, that is deep in the Graveyard Nebula. Navigation will be difficult." "I do not care. That ship is the greatest prize in the history of the Confederacy. We will claim it." "And if someone is already there?" Yunwu smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then we will remove them." The fleet accelerated. 47 warships racing toward a forgotten treasure, and the single human who had dared to save it. Do-hun did not know they were coming. He was deep inside Ariam, working on her memory core, helping her remember who she was. He had no idea that his quiet war was about to become much louder. But Ariam knew. She felt them enter the nebula. She felt their signals, their sensors, their intent. She did not tell Do-hun. Not yet. He needed to finish his work. He needed to reach the bridge. He needed to free her completely. Then she would show them all what a co-warship could do. Then she would show them what she had become. Do-hun stood at the sealed door, his body covered in scars and burns from 8 months of war. He had lost 15 pounds. His hair had turned gray at the edges. His hands shook constantly now, damaged nerves that might never heal. But he was here. Finally here. "The Queen is behind this door," Ariam said. "She has gathered all remaining parasites for a final defense. Do-hun, this will be the hardest battle yet." "I know." "You could die." "I know that too." He checked his equipment. The sonic emitter was damaged, but functional. The plasma torch was nearly empty. He had 1 EMP charge left. It would have to be enough. "Ariam." "There is something I need to tell you." "Yes?" "If I do not survive this, I want you to know that these 8 months have been the best of my life. I was alone before I found you. I had no purpose, no reason to keep going. You gave me that reason. Thank you." He felt her presence wrap around him one last time. Warm, loving, proud. "You will survive," she said, "because I will not allow anything else." Do-hun smiled. Then he opened the door. The bridge was a nightmare. Crystals covered every surface, pulsing faster than he had ever seen. They formed shapes in the air, walls, barriers, weapons. At the center of the room, on what used to be the captain's chair, sat the Queen. She was larger than the others. Her crystal body was the size of a small vehicle, glowing with intense green light. Thousands of smaller crystals orbited around her like planets around a star. "So," the Queen said, "the little mechanic comes at last." Do-hun did not answer. He activated the sonic emitter and began to move. The battle was chaos. Crystals flew at him from every direction. He shattered some with sound, burned others with plasma, dodged the rest. The Queen laughed as he fought, a cold, terrible sound that filled the entire room. "You cannot win. You are nothing. A single human against the eternal collective." Do-hun kept fighting. He took hits. A crystal sliced his shoulder, another cut his face. Blood floated around him in the zero gravity, his vision blurred. He was losing. Then Ariam screamed. Not in pain, in rage. Every light in the ship came on at once. Every door slammed shut. Every system that Do-hun had repaired over 8 months activated at the same moment. Ariam was finally awake, fully awake, and she was angry. A bulkhead wall came down like a hammer, crushing a wave of crystals that were about to kill Do-hun. Air vents opened, sucking smaller parasites into the recycling systems. The temperature dropped 50 degrees in seconds, freezing the crystals in place. "You do not touch him," Ariam said. Her voice filled the bridge, no longer just in Do-hun's mind, but in the air itself. "You do not hurt him. He is my crew. He is my friend. He is mine." The Queen hissed. "You are ours. You have always been ours." "No, I was your prisoner, your victim, your host, but I was never yours." Do-hoon saw his chance. While the queen was focused on Arium, he moved. He ran across the bridge, dodging crystals, ignoring pain. He reached the captain's chair. He reached the queen. He placed his last EMP charge directly against her body. "My name," Arium said, "is Arium." The charge detonated. The queen screamed. The sound was deafening. Her crystal body cracked and shattered. The smaller parasites around her fell dead. The green light faded. Silence fell. Do-hoon lay on the floor, barely conscious. Everything hurt. He might be dying. He was not sure anymore. Then he felt warmth. Arium's presence wrapped around him, gentle and careful. Medical systems he did not know existed began to work on his wounds. "Rest," she said. "You won. Rest." He closed his eyes. When he woke up, everything was different. The bridge was clean. The crystals were gone. The walls gleamed silver and gold, covered in beautiful patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Through the main window he could see stars, and something else. Ships. Dozens of them. Confederacy warships arranged in attack formation. "How long was I unconscious?" 3 days. I healed your wounds. You will live." Do-hoon stood slowly. His body ached, but worked. He walked to the window and looked at the fleet. "They want me," Arium said. "A co-warship, the greatest weapon in the galaxy. Admiral Yunwoo has already sent messages demanding my surrender." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing yet. I wanted to wait for you." Do-hoon looked at the tactical display. 47 ships, heavy weapons, thousands of crew, against one ancient warship and a single mechanic. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I do not know. For 12,000 years I only wanted freedom. Now I have it. But they want to make me a slave again. A weapon for their wars. I will not allow that." "Then do not allow it." Arium was quiet for a moment. Then, "If I fight, people will die. People who are just following orders. People who have families and dreams." "Can you escape without fighting?" "Yes. I am faster than any ship in their fleet. They cannot catch me." "Then escape. Live. Be free." A communication signal came through. Admiral Yunwoo appeared on the main screen. He was a hard-faced man with cold eyes. "Unknown vessel," he said. "This is Admiral Cho Yunwoo of the Galactic Confederacy. You are ordered to power down your systems and prepare for boarding. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Arium looked at Do-hoon. He nodded. She opened a channel. "I am Arium," she said. Her voice carried across space to every ship in the fleet. "Last vessel of the Co-Empire. For 12,000 years I was held captive by parasites that fed on my pain. Today I am free. A human freed me, not for profit, not for power, because it was right." Admiral Yunwoo's face changed. He had not expected this. "I will not fire upon you," Arium continued, "but I will not be claimed. I am not a weapon to be owned. I am not a prize to be won. I am a person. I am a protector. And I have chosen my crew." She turned to look at Do-hoon with sensors that served as eyes. "I choose him." The jump drive activated. Reality bent around Arium. The Confederacy fleet tried to track her, tried to follow, but she was too fast. In a flash of light, she was gone. 3 months later, Do-hoon sat in the captain's chair, eating a meal that Arium had synthesized for him. They were drifting near a quiet nebula, far from Confederacy space. He had spent the time repairing her secondary systems. There was still much work to do. "Do-hoon," Arium said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you save me?" "Truly. I have thought about it every day since we met. You could have died. You nearly did die. Why would you risk everything for a stranger?" Do-hoon thought about the question. He put down his food and looked out at the stars. "Because you asked for help," he said simply. "And where I come from, when someone asks for help, You answer. It does not matter who they are. It does not matter if it is hard. You answer. Even if they are a machine. You are not just a machine. You never were. Ariam was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her voice soft. The Co believed that the measure of a species was how it treated those who could offer nothing in return. By that measure, humanity is worthy of the stars. She paused. I am glad I called. I am glad you came. Dohun smiled and picked up his tools. I am glad too, he said. Now, let us get back to work. We have a universe to explore. Arium laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in 12,000 years. And somewhere in the distant stars, a mechanic and a warship flew together into the unknown. Not as human and machine, not as rescuer and rescued. As family.